Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the matchup report. Excited to be here to talk some more NBA action. We're getting past the All Star break now here as we get closer to the playoffs, so always lots of fun and exciting games and situations to talk about. But Jay, how you doing, man?
I am good. Despite OKC's inconsistent nature, I'm still pushing strong here.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are fine. You're still the number one seed. Although we'll talk about it, man, because I think we both picked a game of yours to watch from
I'm
OKC.
assuming I'm assuming we did.
Yeah. And then, hey, man, that second seed behind y'all is getting a little bit. It's getting closer. They're creeping up on y'all.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Hey, that's good. That's good. I like the confidence. But all right, man. Let's get to it. We're kind of getting more into our format of how we want to do these NBA shows, but it is similar to what we were doing with the NFL. So we're gonna review some of the games that we talked about last game that we were looking forward to watching, some of the matchups as well, and then we'll preview some of what we're looking forward to going next, whether it be games, matchups, whatever it is, and then we'll have a third section to just talk ball, and we'll get into that when we get there. But yeah, let's get into it, man. I want to hear what was your first game that you wanted to talk about.
So last week when we did matchups, I did mine's less game based and more kind of like theme based for the second half. But it did tie into games, of course it did. And the first one was OKC versus Health. That was the big one that I had an eye on. And I'll specifically tie this to the game last night, which was OKC versus Detroit. In that game, there was no Shea, no J Dub, no AJ Mitchell, no Chet Holmgren, and no Isaiah Hartenstein. And then Isaiah Joe goes out the second half. And yet, OKC only loses 124 to 116 against the number one seed, or number one Eastern Conference team in Detroit, and I would say likely MVP favorite right now with just how things are shaping up in the uh, the NBA injury rule. Cade Cunningham is hooping, and he's all
Yeah.
to say. So you go up against Cade Cunningham, you go up against a really good Jalen Duren, you go up against a really good Pistons team as a whole, and you come out of that on the other end only losing by 8. I'm sitting here and I'm going, all right, like I'm satisfied, and I know like a loss is a loss, and you can sit here and try to spin it any way you want, but the way I'm going to spin this, because I'm going to, is that you're seeing a lot of these young players that OKC have getting these big moments, and I think that will pay off, especially when you hit the playoffs. And OKC is a team that really has the depth, and we've seen that where your second string team is taking the number one seeded Eastern Conference team, down the stretch into a game that means something. So I look at this and I say like this is a positive. You get the other Jalen Williams with a career high 30 points. Like these things to me really stand out as positive signs for OKC and positive signs for growth when you're getting a player like Nikola Topic more minutes and getting him more comfortable after everything he's been through, and you're seeing a lot of these young players getting the spotlight and getting the opportunity to grow, really with like no pressure. Like I know like yes, like you are losing games and you see San Antonio start to creep up behind you, but I mean at the end of the day, like you know once Shea comes back you'll be good. You know once Chet comes back you'll be good. You know once this team gets in a rhythm you'll be good. So there it really isn't any. It's not a hey come in here and compete and contend in the middle of the Western Conference. It's you're at the top. You have a cushion, albeit it's been less of a cushion the past couple weeks, but it still is a comfortable cushion where you can look at things and say, all right, like we know where we are. We're gonna get our guys some time, get them more experience to develop, and we'll be good when it comes time for playoffs. So that's just where I stand after this whole OKC stretch, and specifically after last night's game against Detroit.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to lose confidence in the team. And if anything, it's good that, like, obviously injuries are never good when you have it to your best players, but you are, again, testing the depth that is so good in OKC and getting those guys more minutes, especially some of the newer guys on their team, like a McCain and Topic, as he worked his way back in. And, like, because one of my matchups was the OKC Cavs game that happened, like, was it late last week? I think it was. So I watched that one. And in that game, like you said, there was no SGA, no J Dub, and it was still like the OKC won, and they won partly because it's defense first. You're causing turnover. It was a lot. It was actually like it was rough to watch Cleveland in the first quarter of this game because I was like, it was like 10 turnovers or something like that. Like right away, I was like, what the hell is happening? It looked lazy, but it was just the guys on OKC are jumping these passing lanes. They keep their hands active and they're creating points off of turnovers, which is how they built such a big lead. The Cavs did work their way back in this game, but again, these younger and more, role player kind of guys stepped up and ended up winning this game against a Cleveland team that at the time was really surging, and they still kind of are. They're on a bit of like a 2 game losing streak right now, but this Cleveland team has gotten a lot better as of like February, basically. So that was good on OKC for winning that one. I say one of my first notes with this game, and some of the other games I watched of OKC this last week, was just like McCain's sad face because I was just like, and then Isaiah Joe mixed in there as well because in this game against even Cleveland, Isaiah Joe had 22 points and McCain had like 10, but I'm watching both of them hit these threes and like the good off ball action and even the defense that they're playing, the way how like aggressive they're being, and I'm like, cool. Like those are two former Sixers who were traded away to this championship contending team, and I get to watch them be successful on that team while my team starts to hit like a skid, and it's just it was sad. It was like I was happy for them, but at the same time I was just like sad because like God damn it, Maury.
I was gonna say, especially Isaiah Joe. I think he's come out the best from the Jared McCain trade, ironically,
Hmm.
around the OKC team, just because he it isn't he. I don't want to say he's the only shooter on the team because you do have like, other players who can shoot the ball well, but he's the only sharpshooter that OKC had prior to Jared McCain coming through the trade. And it was a lot of pressure of you knew when Isaiah Joe was in the game what his role was and what he was capable of, and now the dynamic of having both of them on the court is dangerous. And I really like seeing that because you start to see Isaiah Joe score more and effectively because he's able to get better looks and better opportunities, and we're seeing Mark Dugnow craft better opportunities for both of them. And Jared McCain's, you mentioned it, his off ball movement has been great to see so far.
Yeah, and then real quick, man, on Topic, I he hasn't been getting a lot of minutes. Obviously, I think in the first game I watched him, I think he had less than 10, but yeah, it was 8 minutes. But I'm not gonna lie, man. There's parts of him where you're watching him as he's starting to get back into it. Obviously, he's still recovering, and he's not gonna be fully where he is this season, most likely. But you can see part of why they still have confidence in him, why they're like buying in on him in the future. Because I do think, like as a primary ball handler, like maybe if it's even just coming off the bench, like he shows some good passing skills, man. Like that was one of the first things I noticed watching him is like he'll get the ball, his eyes are always up, and he's finding guys in the corner. He'll drive and kick it out, or and he'll hit some creative passes. It's not just like simple chest passes. Like he has the ability in him to make some special passes. So that was really cool to see. Like as he's gotten some more minutes, as he's recovered here, like see how he works into the rotation and what he can bring to the team. And I think he could definitely have a future as just like another ball handler on his team. Which like as much depth as OKC has, there's not a lot of like true like point guard kind of like ball handler types on this team. So I do think that is a role that could be filled, and maybe by him in the future.
Yeah, and well, it's exactly what he was for. Like, I think it's crazy to think back to his projected status when he was getting drafted as potentially this. I don't. He was projected for a very little bit of time, being the number one overall pick in that draft, and then the ACL injury, and it was like, well, nobody's gonna want to take him in and watch him sit for a year unless you're Sam Presti. Sam Presti saw that and was like, why the fuck not? There's no pressure for us, and I think it's the perfect environment for him to grow. Because the last like true ball handler I could think on this like OKC roster was a Josh Giddey, and we saw how that dynamic kind of worked with Shea, and I think it at that time it was one of those things where it's like Shea has the ball in his hands a lot, so you don't need to have somebody who can create opportunities when you have somebody who can do it himself. But I think as we're seeing, especially that second unit kind of needing. I don't say a score, but needing someone to potentially set them up. And you have an Isaiah Joe, you have a Jared McCain coming off the bench. Nikola Topic is the perfect person to open up opportunities for them, when it comes to playmaking.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm. It's always cool to watch these games when the stars aren't playing because you'll have guys randomly like Wallace or Wiggins like step up, or Kendrick Williams will just randomly come in like only getting minutes in the second half, and then he comes in like just ready to go, and he's just like he puts in effective minutes. It's like there's never anybody on this team where they come into the game and I'm like ugh like okay like now I gotta watch it, but like I mean maybe Lou Dort when he takes so many
Yeah, I was
threes,
about to say
but
that is my
yeah.
one player where I go like, oh, like, and I very much appreciate the contributions, all that he's done from the bubble on, like when he had that like crazy series, and I remember thinking that I very vividly remember the end of that bubble season because it was it was James Harden actually playing defense and getting the block on Lou Dort,
Yeah.
and I was like that'll never happen again. But I was like, all right, it is crazy to see how far things have come since then. With that being said, we need to like have an honest look at Lou Dort and what he brings to the team and compare, especially when you you see how Casey Wallace is playing and how well he's been able to play. It's like I don't want to say like what is Lou Dort's purpose on his team because he very much is still a very great defender, but his offensive capabilities are just way too inconsistent to have on a championship roster.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of James Harden, I want to transition to the Cavs here real quick because that was who they played in this game. And James Harden was like the main culprit of the turnovers in this game, which was like rare to see. But they did eventually settle down, especially in the second half. And like that's how they were able to come back and make this a tight game. But it's really cool to watch him, like, develop with this team in a way where he's kind of building chemistry with them. But it's, like the chemistry was there seemingly immediately with Jared Allen because the pick and roll game that he has going on, the lobs he's going to, Jared Allen is having like the best like month of his career. I think if you look at the numbers, like his numbers almost like points wise jumped to like double what they were before. I think he went from like 12 to 20 or something like that. Which okay, bad math there, but still, like he's been doing a fantastic job. Especially like he was doing better before James Harden got there, partly because of injuries. But then, especially since James Harden has gotten there, you see his game getting elevated, which you always expect to see with centers like that. With James Harden, he's always able to elevate guys like that who he can play off of. But then the fact that he's still able to work with Donovan Mitchell, who is still going to get the bulk of the shots as he should. He wasn't the best in this game. I don't even think he hit a three. Like the Cavs struggle to make threes in general in this game, unless you were a guy named Sam Merrill who just decided to start lighting it up this game. But I think, yeah, like I said, the Cavs have been surging, especially in the first parts of February, really until like 5 days ago. But and then part of it is like I know James Harden has like a fractured thumb apparently, which we'll see how that affects him going forward. But I don't know, man. Like I'm really enjoying this new look Cavs at post trade deadline because it's not even just James Harden. Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder have been amazing pickups for this team, man. Like it's so awesome to see like and I can't believe I'm saying this, but like Dennis Schroeder on a competing team is just fun. Like it was like this with last year with the Pistons, if you remember. Like they got him, he comes in, and he was legit contributing and being an important factor for them off the bench. He ends up in purgatory earlier this season with the Kings, but then he ends up with the Cavs, another contending team in the East. And you're seeing him come off the bench, like he fights on defense, he makes good plays on offense. Like he doesn't have like an unhealthy shot selection. Like he's smart with the ball in his hands. And then you add Keon Ellis to that, who has the athleticism and just the defensive capability. He can score pretty well on his own. So like you add these three guys into it as the Cavs continue to get healthier, with the addition of Jared Allen resurging with James Harden. Like the Cavs really are emerging to me as like one of the top three teams finally in the Eastern Conference. Away, so what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season, but then DeAndre Hunter doesn't work out the way they thought it would do. They were dealing with injuries. Donovan Mitchell was kind of having to carry the team, but now you give him health. I mean, they legitimately added three different guards for him to work with while after getting rid of Darius Garland or trading him. So I don't know. Like this new look Cavs post trade deadline is. I think they're right where they need to be finally, like, or they're getting to where they need to be before they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think especially when we looked at how to start the season, we're looking at how the Eastern Conference is going to shape out. It was like, all right, like Cleveland has a very easy opportunity to run it back as the best seed in the Eastern Conference. You go through a hurt Boston, you go through a hurt Pacers team, and it was like, all right, like you're just focusing on trying to get to the playoffs and what that looks like when you are there, because that's been the issue in previous seasons. And they started off and stumbled, and it was like, all right, never mind. Like let's see you actually let's see you build consistency into the playoffs, and then credit to the their front office getting creative and going out there and finding the pieces that they need to not only obviously put them in a better position, but to also excel the players that they have on their roster. It isn't just say, all right, like we're gonna go out there and just like bringing in a James Harden. Yes, you instantly think of the scoring effect that he brings, but it's also making other players around him better. And we see that with Jared Allen. We see that just with the entirety of the roster, potentially taking off some of the load of Donovan Mitchell as well. So all in all, like it's obviously clearly put the Cavs in a much better position and much better. I just have a lot more confidence in them as a team to go out there and potentially win the Eastern Conference and actually be a competitor come playoff time.
Yeah, they're if you look at the past 2 weeks for Cleveland, they're top five when it comes to offense. They're still hanging around like 12, 10-ish when it comes to defense, but that's better than season average for both of them because season average they are eighth in offense, 11th in defense. So they're hanging around there with the defense, but they're getting better on offense as you've added these newer guys in there, and I think that has been the main problem for them. I think the defense will be good enough, especially as they get healthier. and then some of these guys get more used to the system. And then it's just if that offense can be consistently be a top five unit, then if you like, it's kind of like I don't always mean to bring back like the Magic as like the bad example of this, but we always talk about like, okay, you're a top five defense. If you could just at least be an average offense, we could see you maybe have some more success. Which I mean, look at how they're doing now. Now their defense isn't great, but yeah, with Cleveland, it's like okay, if you can maintain this top five offense and have nearly like a top 10 defense, then look, like you have a legitimate shot, especially in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Although Detroit is kind of killing everybody at times, but it's, yeah, especially their defense. Their defense is nuts, but we'll get to them. But yeah, man, Cleveland, I'm looking forward. It sucks that James Harden hurt his thumb, but which, of course, we get close to the playoffs. There's always gonna be something, but we'll see what happens, man. I am gonna revisit this team later because I did have a question for you about this, but we'll put a pin in that for now.
So yeah, honestly, like at first I was thinking like when I first saw the fractured thumb, I was like, all right, like how do you handle this James Harden situation? But after like kind of looking at it and like reading up about it, like it seems like I don't say it's not a big deal, but it at first it seemed like it was a much bigger deal. And I kind of like watched a bunch of videos and like of actually like them explaining what it was and everything. And it's on his non-shooting hand, which
Yeah,
instantly makes that a lot better. And it's less about the actual like severity of like how it'll impact him and more just like kind of pain and tolerance more than anything. So it really isn't like a super big deal. Like he's not going to get surgery as they've already reported that. And he's just gonna play through it with I think it's like a splint, which good for him, and I'm glad that it probably won't impact things too much. So we'll keep an eye on that.
yeah, yeah. We'll see, man. But like I said, I'll bring them up again a little bit later. But all right, what was the next matchup or game you wanted to talk about?
Next one for me was Denver beating Boston 183 to 84. In that game, Nikola Jokic had 30 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists. Jaylen Brown had 23 points, 11 boards for Boston. But if you look at it, like, and looking at the stats is one thing. Denver just played a really consistent game of basketball, and there's no other way around that. Like, where they were excelling and beating Boston in every category. And like once again, that's the stats, but then there's also just the look and feel of that, and see how Denver are in a rhythm and just outplayed Boston.
I mean, Denver, as they get healthier and healthier, man, like they truly are one of those contenders. Like we nothing new, right? Like something we already we're pretty aware of. But I mean, when you have a guy in Jokic who's leading the league still in rebounds and assists, I just they can do so much. I am curious, like if they can keep up the consistency on offense once they get there. I mean, obviously you're always going to get away from Jokic, Jamal Murray. You can always kind of rely on him. Like how healthy is everyone else going to be though? That's kind of what I'm worried about. Like Aaron Gordon, they're all working their way back.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm really
and then
looking at
they're
like Cam Johnson and seeing how healthy he'll be come this time, especially just because of the injuries that they've battled recently. Like, what does that look like for him?
yeah, yeah. And then for Boston, it's insane that we're still talking about them being like it was kind of like a funny thing in like the first half of the season. We're like, oh, Boston, look at them. Like no one expected this, but like as the season's gone on, like I mean, I don't know if we should be that surprised because it's Missoula, but like this team truly is just like, no, we're trying to win. Like we're gonna fight, like beginning to end. Even in a game like this where they lose, like they did, like they're gonna go out on their own terms. It feels like it's like we're just gonna keep shooting and we're gonna play our brand of basketball, which usually works. Like they're a top three seed in the East for a reason, and it just keeps that like hanging question of like, is Tatum gonna come back this season or not? I feel like we're gonna hear something by the next 3 weeks, like whether or not like he's actually gonna be on this team, like playing this season.
I keep thinking about like what is the best direction for that, and I like to be honest, the more I think about it, it's like I don't know. I like, and I guess it's to how much confidence do you truly have on him to not only come back but to come back with consistency, because that's the biggest thing, right? Like he can come back and be a I don't want to say uh, like a half of Tatum, but like when you think about like injuries, and especially like I think about last year and how Jalen Brunson got hurt around this time of year, or maybe it was right before All Star break he got hurt, and it was like, all right, like when he comes back, like you need him to get rhythm before the playoffs. Like it's a situation where I think it's the same thing, where it's like in my opinion, I think it's too late for us to sit here and say it's worth it bringing Jason Tatum back, because And then maybe you're like, all right, like if he comes back, maybe within the next, like, because he's already starting with the G League team, right? Or supposed to be practicing with them. Maybe if he like, if you're able to get him on the court in 2 weeks, miraculously somehow, like that would be the only chance I would say like that is reasonable for you know reasonable to get him into rhythm before the playoffs. And I don't know if that's possible for them, which is why like I think it's I don't want to say you chalk it up and say hey we tried our best, but like there's nothing wrong with that. And I think especially in this like you could probably still be a competitive team to take a series in the first round. I don't like after a second round I lose a little bit of faith in them being able to make it out of the East. Like there's going to be Detroit. I know New York is trying to get their shit together, but I think New York is still better than them. So I yes I understand and probably I would if I was a Celtics fan I'd be like yes I want Jason Tatum to come back, but I'd rather you take the time to fully make sure he is ready for next season opposed to rushing him back and potentially ruining things in the process.
What do you think? I mean, because I haven't, because they kind of get asked it like everyone feel like almost every press conference, which I'm sure Missoula, I know he's tired of. But like, do you think like deep down, like, is he trying to push for Tatum to come back? Because he's like, we want to win, or is he
No,
also thinking like we need to like just hold off?
knowing what we do about Joe Mazzulla, I don't think there's any way where he isn't like at least to some degree being like yeah of course I want him back like Jason Tatum, but at the same time I also think he's the type of coach where he recognizes and values his players' health over anything. We're not like it's not to the degree of a coach just like all right like he can run right get him out there, and I think Joe Mazzulla is a lot smarter than that, and the Celtics are a lot smarter than that as an organization. Like I think a lot of credit goes to Joe Mazzulla, but it also goes to it should go to Brad Stevens and being the the that kind of figurehead of the front office that he is and being able to figure things out for the organization. So I think the Celtics as a whole are too smart to potentially rush him back and get him into even more trouble.
Yeah, I was trying to think because you were talking about like second round of the playoffs. So like right now they are currently the second seed. So my fault, I said third seed earlier. They are the second seed. They're ahead of the Knicks by a game and a half. So that means they would play probably one of the play-in teams. So yeah, first round they probably win. Second round, I mean, who of the top six teams, like the other five teams in the top six of the East right now, like who do you have confidence that they could get past in the second round?
Boston.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about Toronto a little bit later,
Mhm.
um, but I think that's a team that I think that Boston can still beat. Um, the Sixers one is tough. And
Is it tough because I'm here or tough
no,
because
it genuinely is tough because you have Tyrese Maxey playing the way that he is, but then you also have everything else that's wrong with the Sixers, and it's like, and we'll talk about
which
that.
there's always a lot.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later as well
Oh,
too.
God.
Yeah, I like that top six is like we always discourage the Eastern Conference just because how much harder the Western Conference is. But I think that top six right there, I think that remains the same. Like yes, I know Philly hasn't been to the level that people would hope, especially someone on this podcast. But I still think like it's going to be tough to for Orlando to jump them or even Miami to make that leap over them.
Can I tell you a dream first round matchup?
Late on.
Celtics Hornets.
You think the Hornets make it that far? Well, I mean,
I
like
think
they're
I
in the
think they could
play-in,
win
right?
their play in tournament.
Yeah.
Like I think they could make it out the play in. And then like if they're whether or not they're the first or second out of the play in, you know what I'm saying? But like
I
whether
think
they
I'm
get the
more
seventh or the
shocked
eighth
that
seed.
we won't see the Bulls in the play-in this year. It feels like this was made for them,
They
and
deserve it, bro. I mean,
now
they're not even playing Ivy. And I'm like, what are we doing?
lost
From
10
why?
straight. Like they fully burdened the hatches of of joining the tanking ranks.
Yeah, and I'm glad. This has been like 8 years in the making. Like at least it feels like that they've needed to just like, okay, like we need to actually rebuild this team rather than just being mediocre perennial playing guys. But yeah, I don't know. I just the Celtics series I think would just be like it would be a lot of fun. That's one of those first round matchups where you're like, okay, we probably know who's gonna win this, but it could be explosive and just like a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Hornets want to steal a game or two, and that's about it. But yeah, I agree.
Hey man, they can be chippy, you know. They because it's two teams that, especially lately, can shoot the shit out of the ball, and the Hornets defense has been surging randomly. So I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're a team I'm watching in the play-in area because I just want to see how much they can keep working their way up. But still below 500, but we'll see. All right, is it my turn or your turn?
It is your turn.
All right, cool. So good because my next one, I had what I think is one of the best games of the year so far that I watched. And that was the Spurs and the Pistons. Dude, that game was amazing. And like the physicality on it first and foremost, which they even talked about after the game, especially the Spurs. They're like, we have to match the physicality of the Pistons, and they fucking did. Like they were legit running through each other at points like during this game. Like oh, you're gonna set a screen. Like Cade Cunningham's like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna run through your chest then, and then they're in each other's face. It was chippy. Like they had to stop the game like at least two or three times to be like break them up, and like there wasn't any actual fights that happened, but there was a lot of shit talk. There was a lot of in your face. There was a lot of pushing. It was just physical in the play in general too, man. Like they were hitting each other, and it was highly entertaining. But I mean, it starts off with was it Vassell goes 3 for 3 to start the game from three. Like legit, the Spurs get off to like I think it was a 9-0 or 11-0 start for this game, largely because of Vassell, who can just shoot the hell out of the ball, man. Like it doesn't matter where he is on the court, his jumper is just so smooth. Like whether it be from three, the midi, like he loves taking those elbow shots like off of action with Wemby, and then Wemby, man, like the playmaking aspect, like we all know what his defense is, and there was I think the beginning of this fourth quarter when it was still a little close, he had like three blocks within 2 minutes, and two of them I'm pretty sure he didn't even leave his feet. He was just like, okay, like I'm just gonna swat
Well,
this out.
you're 7 foot. You can do that.
Oh yeah, like one of my favorite things this season so far has been watching you become more and more bitter towards Wemby and the Spurs. Where it's like I'll bring that up, you're like, well, when you're that tall, of course you're gonna do that.
I mean, like, yes, I am bitter. At the same time, he is like 7'2". Like
All right, Bo, did we see Boban doing this stuff?
Boban doesn't have the mobility Wimby
Okay,
does.
that's what I'm saying. This is a unique player.
I didn't see Boban, training with Monks and Kevin Garnett over the offseason.
Well, hey, not all of us have that luxury to be able to do that. But yeah. But anyways, yeah. But the playmaking aspect of it is where it's like, and this is what kind of hurt the Pistons as this game went on, especially, and it was getting called out in the broadcast. Was everyone rightfully so overreacts to Wemby on offense, where they're collapsing on him anytime he gets anywhere near the paint or the elbow, and then that just opens up 3-point shots for everybody, and especially Vassell, who does such a good job off the ball of getting to that spot, basically just like in front of Wemby, saying like, "Hey, you're posted up," because Wemby will have his back to the basket, and then it's just like, "All right, I'm right here for you," because everyone's collapsing on you, but then he's got a couple seconds to just get a shot up. And most of the time for him, I mean, I think he's shooting around 38% on the season. But if you look at the past like 10 or 12 games, he's shooting like 42 plus. So like if he's getting these open shots for them, but then you have Champagne adding to that as well. Dude, Castle is becoming one of my favorite players to watch in general. Like, he's still like kind of crazy at times, where it's like, and it's annoying because it's like he'll go crazy downhill, sort of like how like Russell Westbrook would do early in his career, where it's like, okay, slow down. Like I don't mind you going fast all the time, but just like learn how to like fix your pace. Castle does that a lot of times. Like he has that like almost become his like, signature D cell like euro that he does, which he does a great job of drawing fouls with that too, because he'll do that first step, everyone will overreact, he'll get hit, and then he'll finish the step and get an and one or at least draw the foul. But he maintains the aggressiveness. We know what he can do athletically, playmaking wise. Like I truly think as soon as his 3-point shooting, which is like it's not terrible, but it obviously has room for improvement. As that continues to get better, I mean, this team is nuts. And then De'Aaron Fox looked like he was getting by Cade Cunningham and some of these other defenders like at will with his crossover. It was crazy to watch. Where it was like, okay, there's De'Aaron Fox at the top of the key. We're kind of playing a 5 out. Wemby's sort of hanging out near the dunker spot. All right, De'Aaron Fox has a one-on-one, and he's at the basket. De'Aaron Fox has a one-on-one, he's at the basket. And he's just driving left every time. And I'm like, how do you not know that this man is going to be driving left on you? But he's so quick and agile. He's able to get by guys like that. And then, they got Darren Harper coming off the bench, Keldon Johnson, who's a six-man candidate. It's just like, when you look at these great teams in the NBA and the depth that they have, the Spurs are a prime example of that, man.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 3-point shooting especially. Devin Vassell hit 7 threes in this game. Julian Champagne hit 5 threes in this game. Like, and it all definitely has to do with the pressure that they're putting on Wemby. And when you have,
Hmm.
the gravitational pull that Wemby does, like it naturally opens up a lot of shooters for your team. And I think the Spurs have done a good job. And also credit to Mitch Johnson for being, well, and yes, it is very easy to to scheme things when you have a 7-2 Wemby on your team. But at the same time, it's still you can get crafty with what you're able to do with a roster like this. And we've seen Mitch Johnson really kind of step into this and be creative when it comes to constructing what this team looks like, and especially the lineups and the rotations for this team, which is really excelled.
They have two cool nicknames on this team too for a couple different pairings. So Wemby and Luke Cornett, French Vanilla, right? That was one we talked about at the beginning of the season. And then now my other new favorite one is Area 51 when him and Castle link up for like a lob or something like that, which they do often because it's Wemby. So yeah, it's they're just a highly entertaining team, and they're a team that scares the crap out of me. Because we talked about them a lot, like going into like this season before everything even kicked off. We're like, okay, like we've joked a lot about Wemby being like the future, just like face star of the league, where it's like you have to worry about him contending every single year, no matter what team he's on. And then now here we are, and I think we're kind of like a year early. It feels like to where we thought we were going to be. Where it's like they're close, like I said, they're right on the heels of OKC for that one seed, and they've beat OKC 3 times this season, and it's like it kind of feels like they're already here and ready to go, like in my mind. And I was curious, like what you think with that, because I mean, like we said, we talked a lot about, man. We're like, this is going to get scary at some point where it's like, yeah, everyone can keep winning these defensive player of the years, the MVPs, that one seed now, but we know what's on the horizon. I think we're just about there.
Yeah, like, and I think you mentioned like there's some key things that hold them back a little bit. Like Stefan Castle is shooting 30% from three. Like you want something better from him when it comes to that. But you look at this game as well. He had 16 points and 11 assists. Like at the end of the day, like, and that's just offensively. Like we know he is like a dog on defense. It's like fucking hell to get past him. So it literally is, like as it's nitpicky to say like, oh, he's not shooting the ball well, especially for a second year player. Like these are all things that you hope can develop pretty well. And you have a head coach who has shown flashes of being able to develop pretty well, at least in his 2 seasons or season and a half or whatever it's been. Um,
Yeah.
it's a positive sign that you have a full roster like this that can operate, and there's only room for growth.
Yeah, man, I can't. I mean, they're winners of 10 in a row right now, and it's I've been against good teams. I mean, the Raptors, the Pistons. It's like they're they're beating everybody. So we'll see what happens. Are you worried about them catching up?
I wouldn't say I'm worried, just because like, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. Like I think OKC is getting healthier, and I think they're getting into like I think we're starting to see that these young players are a lot more comfortable with the minutes they're given, and I think we'll see. And I think it'll be close. Like I'm not gonna say like OKC comes back and just like loses just 2 games for the remainder of the season, but I think OKC does enough to consistently stay in front.
Yeah. Real quick on the Detroit side of this, they had like a weird slow start where Bickerstaff had to call a timeout and like kind of like wake his team up, which you don't want to see from like a one seed like that and a team that's known for being physical. But it could just be like, hey, it could just be one of those games where everyone's a little fatigued and yeah, it's just that time of the year. But like once they finally did get it back and going, like it was a tightly contested game. But I think part of the reason why it was only even tightly contested in like going into the second half was a large part because of Ron Holland. Dude, he is so good. Like coming off the bench for them, like he is legitimately a spark plug for them, and he does everything. Like he plays hard on defense. He'll draw charges. He's chasing people down. He'll face anybody up. Like he'll defend anybody. And then on offense, man, he just flies around. He knows when to cut. He's got the athleticism to get to the basket. Like he's shooting well enough. It feels like, and it's just like it felt like anytime they needed a play to be made to like keep them in this game, it was him that kept them there. And I would say almost like part of me was like, I think he might have been the best player on the Pistons this game, except for Jalen Duren had like a second half where it was like, okay, like they were close, and now Jalen Duren's being like, okay, let me try and take over this game. Him and Wemby having a bit of back and forth was a lot of fun to watch, and watching Jalen Duren try to hit these like elbow jumpers, which like his jump shot is a little slow, and he kind of just like leans back on the ball of his feet, and you're like, all right, like you're almost there, and it's like if he gets that down consistently, he'll truly be one of the elite centers. But man, like it, it's just it gets to a point where, especially if you're not going to be able to stop these threes that the Spurs create for themselves, you're going to lose like this. But I didn't lose any confidence in the Pistons at all, and it was nice to see that their depth is there as well. Although I will say a little too much Dennis Jenkins, just a little too much. Like I know that they're lacking ball handlers, and like outside of Cade Cunningham, you're kind of like, which is why I wish they would have kept Dennis Schroeder. But it's kind of like, all right, who is like the guy when Cade's not sitting, like who's initiating everything? And to me, it's a little bit too much Dennis Jenkins, who like we've talked about in the like this is his first like full season like in the NBA. Before this, I think he'd only played like 10 games total, and then like the Pistons bring him up and they sign him to a contract and all that early this season, and he's had some moments, but for I don't know if I want him out there for like 20 to 25 minutes being the main guy initiating everything because his shot selection and just his decision making at times in general is just like suspect. Not that I think he's a good role player, but for him to be like your secondary guy like that, like coming off the bench, it's kind of like I don't know. But I'm curious to see how they address that going forward, or if maybe some of the guys that they traded for step up eventually, because I do still feel like they're figuring out their rotation a little bit.
Yeah, like this is a team that like it's crazy to say like a number one seed is still figuring things out, but they are. And I think this is the time where we start to see like I don't say the final changes, but I think we start to see coaches and teams start to say like, all right, this is going to be our team, come playoff time and what that looks like. And these are our rotations that we're going to do when we're playing, top teams like, San Antonio, Cleveland, New York. And you start to see them test things out and see, all right, this is going to be the biggest test we're going to face come playoff time. How do we match that? Let's test some things out. Let's see what these things look like. And the Pistons are a team, especially considering how young they are, that is definitely going through this process.
Yeah. It was a little something I was looking at because Cade didn't have his best game either. He was 5 of 26 in this game, while Dennis Jenkins was 3 of 10. So those are your two like kind of like your primary ball handlers right there. Although Thompson will kind of kick in with that every once in a while, but and I think Holland could do it a little bit more, but yeah, it's just like when you're not getting much from your guards like that and they're not hitting just shots, it's rough to watch. But like I said, I think that was more of a one off than it was like anything to actually worry about going forward. So because Cade has truly been having like an MVP caliber season. So all right, what was your next one?
That was actually you hit all three of my matchups.
Okay, I think I did have one more because of course I had to get one of my teams in here. So
Here we go.
well, I had mentioned I wanted to watch the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers, partly because mainly going for the center position out, but then also so I could look at Scoot Henderson some more, who hasn't even played 10 games yet this season. But this game, it was one of his best games of the season, I think, given that like the context of everything and how he hasn't really played this year. But um, man, like one of my first notes on this was first of all, Ant, relax. Like this dude is nuts. He truly is just an elite three level scorer. It was like he starts the game just like casual pull ups from three. It doesn't matter who's in his face, what's going on. He can hit the step back, the side step, like whatever it is. He's able to get himself free enough for a three, whether it's off a screen or on his own. And then the little baseline middies that he's hitting, sort of like how you'll see Maxi and other guys do like all the time. He's hitting that. It feels like at an insane clip. And then of course we know what we can do every time he drives and he can draw the fouls and do all that. There is a little bit of me that's like, and then maybe this is just because I've been watching more Luca lately again as I've been catching up on the Lakers. The complaining to the refs bit is like, I mean, this might just be an NBA thing in general, but it does get grating where it's like, dude, like you're not getting fouled every time you drive. Like it doesn't have to be every time you go to the basket or you touch the ball that you're getting fouled. You may be getting hit, but it's like at some point we just need to like carry on. But I will say he does a good job of like not taking himself out of the play. Like he'll yell at the refs while still making a play. But I don't know, like just him in this game was just another example. It was like, I mean, it's every game. It's like he could just take over at any time he wants at will. But one of the things I want to focus on with the Timberwolves before I go to the Blazers in this game too was just like because we can talk about Ant and how great he is all the time. It's the other guys on this team that like it shows why the Timberwolves are in this position, that why they're so good, and why you can still see them making the Western Conference Finals again because of guys like Naz Reid, who shook Drew Holiday out of his damn shoes in this game, basically with just like the simplest kind of like jab step, and there goes Drew Holiday towards the baseline, and Naz Reid gets an open three, which we know he can make. And then it's that, but then it's him still able to get by defenders, big or small, in front of him to get to the basket again. And it was just like, okay, Naz Reid's doing this. And then you have like Bones Highland, who's been giving them good minutes, DiVincenzo, and Jaden McDaniels, who like, he does get talked about, but I still don't think it's enough. His defense is insane, man. With the length and athleticism that he has, he's been an efficient scorer for them as well this season. Like these other guys around Ant really are creating this like perfect ecosystem of like, okay, we can score and they're all getting it together. We talked about Julius Randle and how he can be as a scorer and as a playmaker as well. And I just think their weak spot really just might now be Rudy Gobert. And it's not that he's playing terrible. It's just that like you can tell he's losing a step, and you can really tell when he's going up against a guy like Donovan Clingan. This is how he switched to the Trailblazers, shit like that. But when he's going up against a guy like Donovan Clingan, who like look, he's not like the most athletic center, but he moves better. He's got the size and the defensive capabilities. Anytime that guy is like near the paint or in the paint, he is just simply just a crazy presence to have down there. Like he'll block everybody that comes near him. He puts in the full effort. He's fighting for rebounds on both sides of the floor, which is fun to watch when he goes up against a guy like Rudy. But like all these matchups I've seen him have with Rudy and some of these other types of centers, like Klingon has been winning them, and he's taking more threes. And he's actually been like he's not like shooting at volume. Like he's not shooting like 5 a game. It's probably like usually around 2, but he's been making them. Man, I think going into this game, he had shot like 12 like threes or something like that, like prior to like the All-Star break, like over the course of 10 games. And he was hitting them. Like he's legit, like if he's expanding his game like that, because players are leaving him open. And unfortunately for him, it does sometimes mean he caught a couple grenades in this game from Scoot, where Scoot drove in, everyone collapsed on him, and the first person he saw was Donovan Clingan at the top of the key, which is kind of funny to see. It was like, well, I guess you're shooting this grenade now, which like, yeah, he's been working on a shot, but I don't know if you want him doing that. But the game that he has with Scoot specifically has been really fun. And this is something I talked about last season when Scoot was playing with him. Whereas like the pick and roll game that they have a really good chemistry there where like they set it up, they'll dive together and they'll set up the lob. And then the flares off of it as well. And then there was one really good one where it was a dribble handoff where Donovan set the screen. He does a dribble handoff with Scoot. He curls around and he just has the most wide open lane to the basket, and with his athleticism, he's just able to yam it on anybody. So as you're developing that with like your 2 young guys, Shaden Sharp when he comes back healthy, and then as this team gets it together a little bit more, Tamani Kamara, like if he can just get a shot selection up a little bit more again, like I know this team's in the play-in right now, which is kind of where we expected them to be, but you are still seeing the seeds of growth that where it's like, okay, we see where this team is going, and then going into the next season when you get Lillard back, and we'll see what happens with Drew Holiday and whatnot, but I don't know, man. Like, it gives me optimism. Like I said, Scoot hasn't even played like 10 games yet, and the threes are he's shooting them. He's not making a lot of them, but he is at least like showing confidence in shooting them. But his midi is there, and he's able to get to the basket whenever he wants, seemingly, and he's aggressive as hell. Like he is not afraid to drive on anybody, and he has creative ways to get the bucket. So I think there's things to be positive like going forward with the Trailblazers.
Yeah, when it comes to the Trailblazers, I do think a lot of their future kind of hinges on how well Scoot is able to develop and how much you're able to put into him and really trust him. As things are now, like you just need to see more. And I think that's the thing is that you need to see him on the court. And you need to see him perform at the level that they have faith in him because he does have that potential. But it's just a matter of getting there, which I think the Blazers have shown in the past couple seasons that they're capable of developing a player like Scoot. It's just a matter of time and patience, which they have despite being in the position they are in the play-in. And then when it comes to the Minnesota side, that's like Anthony Edwards. Like I think it's, and we've talked about this before. I think it's very easy to kind of gloss over how far he's come developmentally. Especially considering just the raw talent he was when he was drafted. And that doesn't mean he was like trash when he was drafted, but like it was very much you knew what you were getting with Anthony Edwards when you drafted him. And really a credit to the Timberwolves for being patient and developing him over time to being the complete player he is now, where we're seeing him be able to score at all 3 levels and still, provide some impact on the defensive end as well. So I think the Timberwolves is as much as you can say like yes the Rudy Gobert stuff has been a process and you're still trying to figure out what that looks like for the future. Them developing Ant I think is a very positive sign And I think it's going to be positive for a player like Ayo Dosunmu, who they just got as well, and they're still trying to work into the rotation and what that
Who's
looks
been
like.
good?
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Timberwolves develop this.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, hell yeah. Maxi Masterclass, 28 and 11, 5 steals. Let's go.
Embiid just hit a three to seal it too. Well, it's over now,
Hey,
but he
let's go.
did.
Yeah, Maxi passed AI for a franchise record for threes today. So good on him. But and it's nice to see the Sixers winning again. Although they keep struggling, it's pissed me off. But whatever. You said we might get to them later, so we'll see. But all right, that's all I have for stuff to review. Was there anything else you want to talk about before we go to what we're looking forward to?
Um, no. Oh, we'll save it for the end.
The last segment. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's go. Let's start. That was us reviewing our matchups. Let's get into previewing some of the games and matchups that we're going to look at going forward for I would say like the next week. Do you want to start? Which one are you looking at first?
All right. First one, when we talked about both of these teams, very easily Cleveland versus Detroit. I looked at this and was like, perfect. Two teams. I think you mentioned Cleveland's kind of ascendancy the past couple games. I want to see what that looks like, and I want to see the Pistons kind of under some pressure. Just the I think it's naturally it's very easy to beat up the bottom feeders in the Eastern Conference and to beat the bottom feeders of the Western Conference, but let's see you against a team like Cleveland and see a team that's hot and see how that works. See how you're able to operate and see if you can stay poised and confident. And then on the other side, once again, Cleveland, how are we seeing you manage the James Harden situation? How are we seeing you just balance your rotation as a whole in his minutes? So I'm really interested to see two top teams in the Eastern Conference match off.
I'm also curious to watch that. I had them as well because they play each other twice like in the next 5 days. So yeah, we get a chance to watch them like have two matchups here. That so yeah, I say all the same reasons you just said. Like how are they gonna? How does Detroit deal with some pressure? How does Cleveland deal with the physicality that they're gonna have to go against? It's a good like playoff preview, I think, because like we could very well see these teams like in a series in a couple of months. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Um, Okay, I also had another kind of a double dip after that because I had Pistons and Cavs twice because they play each other. I have a couple of Knicks games I want to watch because the Knicks are just one of the most confusing and frustrating teams to me to watch this year. And like I'm not even like a big Knicks fans like that, but like so they play the Spurs March 1st and then they play the Raptors March 3rd. I want to watch both of those partly because I also just like I want to see the Knicks Raptors. Like I just think that's like a fun matchup. But like any team that the Knicks have to go against, like the Spurs or the Raptors, who can be physical with them, especially on defense, I want to see how the Knicks handle it because lately, and kind of for the most part of the season, they haven't handled that well at all. I mean, look at the season series that they've had against Detroit, where they got swept by them because they're just a team that's able to out physical and kind of bully them. And then when they go up against teams like that, I don't like to say they shrink, but they just don't. They don't have the ability to respond that you would hope so from a team that we've seen like we thought could potentially win the finals. So I want to see how they respond. It's a little bit of like a okay, Cat, OG, Mikhail, like how are you going to do this? How are you going to respond? Sohan is still kind of working his way back in, but they're getting other players less minutes because like I feel like they're also like Mike Brown is still just figuring out his rotation even as we go into March. Like this team hasn't changed that much since the inception of the season, but they're still trying to figure some things out. And it's like it's getting to a point where if we get to April and they're still having these same issues, my confidence in them is going to be like way less than it was at the beginning of the season because all these teams that they're going to have to go against in the Eastern Conference, especially like the top end guys, like they are physical. They're going to attack you and they're going to be fast about it, and you're going to have to find a way to deal with that. And it can't be you, like specifically Carl Anthony Towns at times, like arguing with the ref at the baseline as the play moves on to the other side of the court. It can't be just like, okay, Jalen Brunson, we need you to lead a 15-point comeback in the fourth quarter, seemingly on your own, so that we can win this game. Or we have to rely on Josh Hart to turn into prime Ray Allen to like win some of these games. It's like something needs to be figured out here with the rotation. I don't know if Sohan helps that eventually as he gets more figured in. I don't know if Kolek and some of these other guys end up getting more minutes again later in the down the line. I would love to see Clarkson get more minutes again because clearly this team just needs buckets at times and guys who can get buckets and they're not getting it. But I'm not like super worried about the Knicks, but my confidence in them to get to the finals is definitely a lot less than where I thought it would be at this time of the year.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the biggest thing is consistency, and I think you're trying to see that, and you're looking at some of the top teams. Like the San Antonio matchup is one that I looked at in particular and said I need to see it because I really want to see what that looks like, and if you're able to establish consistency against a top team.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with them sometimes, man. I mean, it's like I said, they're not terrible, but I feel like their offense, I mean, and their defense in general, have all just kind of taken a bit of a dip. I mean, yeah, if you look at the past 2 weeks, New York is 24th in offense. I mean, did you ever expect that with a team with like Jalen Brunson and Cat and all of them to be 24th in offense? And their defense is like just middle of the road.
Yeah, that's insane.
So, hey, look, but hey, you can always turn around. It's a game of runs. It's a season of runs. So we'll see what happens. They have basically a month and a half to figure it out. All right, what's your next matchup you're looking at?
All right, I previously mentioned it, or at least mentioned the team. Denver versus OKC.
Mm. I
This
knew you were
is
gonna pick this one, which is why I didn't pick it.
okay, perfect. As I was taking my notes earlier, I was like, well, like the timeline for Shea was like he would come back for Denver. 2 hours ago, they announced he will be back for Denver, which is definitely a positive sign, of course, for OKC. So two MVP match, former MVPs matching up. But I also really like my big thing is yes, like Shea is back. I don't know what the minutes restriction is going to look like if they even do that or what that looks like or like just what the how they're going to manage it. Ooh, excuse me. But either way, for me, I want to see how the other players adapt to Shea being back, and I think it's one thing to say like you're given the green light, like a Jalen Williams for example, like the not Jada but Jalen Williams, when he's given the floor to go out there and score 30 points that last night, like that's a positive sign, and I want to see what that looks like when Shea is there, how he can contribute more to a team, even when you have a Shea there, even when you have a Jada back, even when you have a Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein back, like just fully kind of maximizing what this roster looks like when Shea is on the court.
No, I think yeah, that obviously like everything you said. It's a great preview matchup. Two teams that we think can compete for the finals. Um, you said I think you mentioned it, but like what exactly like how much time is SGA gonna get?
I don't. I'm a little curious because like and I don't. It was an abdominal strain that kind of sat him out, and I don't want to sit here and play doctor.
Right.
But to me, like it felt like it was more a precaution type of thing, in which naturally I understand you want Shea back for the playoffs more than anything. But at the same time, like yeah. Okay, so
You think he's getting like 30 plus minutes straight away?
I don't know. I think, and it's a dumb question or a dumb answer to say like, well, it depends on how what the score is. But like, I think it really does. Like, and I think if like I think we see a lot of situations where he'll kind of rest third quarters and then like they play him in the fourth win in big moments. And I think this might be a game where we see that where it's like, all right, like third quarter, especially like late in the third quarter, like the second half of it fully let the second unit come in. Let's see a Jalen Williams, kind of operate. Let's see a Casey Wallace. Let's see a Jared McCain. Let's see an Isaiah Joe out there and hoop, and then Shea comes in and takes over the fourth quarter. I think that makes the most sense logically, especially trying to manage his health.
I think most curious. I'm just curious to see like who you guys put on Jokic or like how you defend him
Yes,
in
that's
general. Like,
because
is
I know.
Caruso finally gonna get some minutes
Yeah,
again?
I mean, like to be fair, he was hooping the other night, but it's
Uh,
like I am curious if they go back to that if they like it. But once again I think it's a big opportunity for Jalen Williams. Like I think like his 30-point performance like the other night, and I think even during the playoffs he had a good couple moments against Jokic. I think this is a good opportunity to really see how he can excel in a moment like that.
yeah, and then with Denver, it's like can OKC and SGA like poke at that defense that has been a lot better lately? Like throughout the season, it's been kind of like average or less when you compare it to the rest of the league. But lately, it's been a lot better. I think when I was looking at like this month, they're like top five or top 10 at least in defense, and that may be also because of like the competition they've gone against. So I want to see it against OKC and now an SGA that's back and seemingly healthy. Like how does Denver handle that? And is this defense actually real as we go into the playoffs, or like where is it actually at? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. All right. Next one I'm looking at, and it, so I got Sixers against Boston. And this to me is just like as like a personal like thing is just like it's a litmus test. Like it's fine. Like okay, cool. Sixers, you can beat the Miami Heat. You can beat the Pacers. When you look at them and like how they go against like above 500 competition versus below 500, they're basically like 500. They're like right there on the edge where it's like they beat enough above 500 teams and they do beat up on the below 500 teams, but like I just need to see do better against better competition. So the Boston to me is a great like litmus test for that, where it's like how do you handle like can you close out? Can you close out? Like that is like my first question with the Sixers, like on defense. Like, are you able to? Because I'm really tired of watching guys get open threes, and Boston is going to attempt and try to do that all game against you. Can you fight over these screens? Can you get in their face and stop these damn open threes? And then on offense, are you able to consistently set up something where rather than just like, okay, we're getting something really quick in transition, or we're just putting the ball in one of our guards' hands and it's like just see what you can do, especially when Embiid's not playing. That's a big factor in this too. Like, is Embiid going to play in this game because he has been playing a lot more, but they're also being cautious with his knee, which I don't mind. Like, if you're telling me I get this version of a healthy Embiid going into the playoffs, I have a lot more confidence in the team. We'll still see what happens with Paul George when he eventually comes back before the playoffs, but there's still some other stuff the team needs to figure out, especially rotation wise. And like, they just added Campaign who, okay, like fine. Like it's kind of annoying that we traded away a guard that was getting like was doing well for us. And then we pick up Campaign as his replacement. But I don't know, man. I want to say like I'm so
But I thought the idea was you were trading him while
I
he
don't
was
know what
signed.
the idea was, other than
No.
just ducking the luxury tax. If I'm being completely honest, but like, yeah, like I said, this trade would have been fine if they had actually been able to bring someone in. And I don't mind having a first round pick in a draft that's supposed to be really good that we didn't originally have. But now we're up. But my main thing was, and seemingly with the players too, especially Joel Embiid, who usually wouldn't do this, called out the front office saying like, "Yeah, I would like to add some players. Like we're in a good position this season to like make like a push and potentially contend." And then the team responded with going under the luxury tax and getting rid of a good player, and now he's being replaced with Cameron Payne, who fine, like good role player, but I don't think that's what we needed this season, which is what the entire context was. Because I think there's a short window that you have here with this kind of Embiid left.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going against Boston, I just want to see purely just where are the Sixers at, right? Like this is a good limit, and like they're not going to be fully healthy because no matter what, they're not going to have Paul George, but I just want to see where they're at.
Yeah, I agree. I think like it really is just a let's see where we're at type of thing. You have a Boston team that has really excelled this season by against all odds. And this is the perfect opportunity to see how for real you are, see where your team is at, where you need to improve at, and really the like just everything when it comes to the Sixers rotations and how things are going to look come playoff time.
Yeah, we'll see, man. The Sixers are so frustrating. Like but this is like the Sixers curse because it's always the same thing. It's like they give you a little bit of hope like throughout the middle part of the season, and then you get to the second half, and there's inevitably something that happens, right? Whether it be an injury or a suspension or something stupid, where it's like this didn't need to happen, but it did happen, and now we're here, and it sucks. And then we're just hoping that we can be healthy and good to go by the playoffs. But then that makes us so like this feels like a repeat of every single year where I get into March slash like beginning of April with the Sixers and I'm like, can you just show me that you're ready for the playoffs? Like, Nick Nurse, can you show me that you're able to draw up like an effective ATO? Like, can you do that? Like, can we show that we're actually kind of healthy and that Maxi's not going to be exhausted because he's averaging 40 plus fucking minutes a game? Are we really going to be relying on a rookie to be one of our most clutch players at the end of games? Like, there's so many questions. Then what actually is our rotation? Like what actually is our rotation? I don't know at this point. Like I'm seeing Jabari out there some games, I'm seeing Justin Edwards out there some games, and it's like, do I even want that? Adem Bona can show some great things at times, but then he doesn't get minutes, and Drummond will sit some games, and then it's like, oh well, because Embiid's not playing. It's just there's too many questions for a team that was supposed to be like looking good as they were going to get to the playoffs. And then now I'm like, well, how good is Paul George going to be when he gets back? How healthy actually is Embiid? How tired is Maxey going to be? How much reliance are we going to have on these other players that we shouldn't? Too many questions. So for this next month, it's just going to be me looking at stuff like that with this damn team.
You said like there's they said it's something every year. And I want to ask you, what do you think set the Sixers back further this year? Was it the Paul George suspension or was it the McCain trade?
Can I say both?
No, that's cheating. I need a clear answer here. Like which
I
one do you
w-
think negatively impacted the Sixers worse?
I think the Paul George of everything, probably, because I think McCain, like the biggest annoyance was like he can give you like I was happy with him getting like 15 to 20 minutes off the bench and being an effective shooter for us and showing that he could do some stuff for us in the future. But like the big part of McCain was like, okay, this is something we're going to build with going forward. The whole point of Paul George was that like basically this was it. Like this is the last stint of Paul George probably with the Sixers where he can still be like in a really good like effective player. So the fact that he's going to miss 25 games total just off of the suspension alone, not counting all the injury stuff that was happening at the beginning of the season as well, which I think also screwed some things up and probably also led to him having to get suspended. That I think that has affected a little bit more because that was supposed to be like one of your key starters who was also like he's a really good defender still and he can get you buckets. I mean, we've seen him score like crazy at times during these games. So I think missing his consistent presence and then having to figure out the rotations after that, maybe that'll help you out later on where like now you know a little bit more who you can rely on. But it's still like there hasn't been a consistent starting lineup for the Sixers seemingly like all year. And a large part of that has been Paul George, and I feel like more than Embiid in a way. So, which I didn't think I would say, but it's where we're at. But there's also every year with the Sixers, there's something where like, well, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but here we are, and it's never like a good thing. It's like the good thing this year that I think I would be saying is that Embiid is playing a lot of games and he looks as good as he does, truly like an all star. The bad part of it is Paul George is taking the mantle of like, well, he did something stupid or he got injured, and now we're missing him for like half the year.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. this team in South Philly pisses me off. All right, what you got next?
All right, my final matchup, and it was we kind of talked about Denver already, but I wanted to kind of expand upon it and see Denver versus Minnesota.
This was my last one, so good, yeah.
Perfect. We're knocking out both of our last ones. Yeah, I very simply, you have Anthony Edwards playing the way that he is, and you're seeing the Timberwolves really start to show their identity and what type of team they're going to be. And I think you talk about Rudy Gobert. This is going to be an interesting matchup for Rudy Gobert against Jokic and what this will look like. And I really want to see how the Timberwolves are able to adjust, especially when it comes to shifting rotations to match a team like Denver. Like something that, and once again, not to bring up OKC again, but when you think about that team, they were able to, the championship team last year, they were able to constantly adjust their rotation to match what teams are playing against them, almost to a negative degree, where they actually tried to counter like the Pacers in that first game of the finals by trying to adjust to stop Siakam. But either way, they have the luxury to do something like that, and I think part of when you're looking at what teams are going to be successful come playoff times, a big part of that is being able to adjust the teams and being able to rotate different lineups in, whether it's a double big lineup, whether it's a small ball lineup, or whatever have you be. And I think I really want to see how Minnesota, in particular, is able to adjust to a team like Denver.
Yeah, I for me, because we talked about we talked about both of these teams, but like, can Minnesota play like consistent defense this month is kind of what I'm looking at here, and we know like both of these teams have questions on defense, but we know that both of them can play like elite offense. So to me, this is like a defensive matchup I'm trying to see, where it's like the Timberwolves throughout most of the regular season, if you looked at the numbers, they are a top 10 defense, but not this month. They're like bottom of the league when it comes to defense this month, which is like I don't know if this is the time of the year that you want to be trending in that direction. So is this a game where like you go some high level competition, you can show like, all right, we have an answer to well, I don't know if anyone has an answer to Jokic, but like we have kind of an answer to Jokic and we have a way to stop this team from bleeding us out all game because of the way they can just kind of kill you by like 1,000 paper cuts. So can Minnesota try to stop that at least? I mean, it feels weird that I'm asking like a playoff contending team, like, can you try to like stop this other team on offense? But that's where they've been at this month. It's like as good as they can be on offense and as good individual effort you can get on defense from guys like Jaden McDaniels and at times like uh, Anthony Edwards and so on. Like Nas Reed, not as much. Like I think that is where his like biggest fault is. But it's just can you give me consistent defense? Because I said this month, but even just looking at like the past couple of weeks, they're like 27th in defense. That which is like, how the hell does that happen for a team like this? So curious to, but I do also think that's where someone like Dosumu, as he works his way in even more, like he does help with that. So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right. Any other matchups you wanted to talk about?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, that was it for our matchups that we previewed and we're looking forward to. Now, we are going to be starting our last segment of the show, something we'll be calling our shoot around. Just a segment for us to just talk ball, like whatever's on our mind regarding the NBA and basketball in general. Doesn't have to be NBA, I guess, but like, we could talk Darren Peterson if you want. But hey, let me ask you first, man. What do you got first?
So I hate to start it off on this note.
Oh God.
We debuted this new segment, and the first thing I talk about is the Kings. But the Kings fucking suck. Okay,
They're so bad.
and I need to get this out in the air and ask, what the hell are they doing? They were on a 16-game losing streak before beating Memphis the other day. Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis are out for the season. And I'm looking around at their roster, and I'm like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, genuinely, what are you going to do? Because 41-year-old Russell, or I'm dragging it, 37-year-old Russell
I was
Westbrook.
like, damn, what?
37-year-old Russell Westbrook has probably looked like the best player for them all season, at least effort-wise, being out there and actually showing up every night. DeMar DeRozan has done his bit when he can, but limitations.
His bit?
Yeah. Either way, all this to say is that the Kings are one of the organizations that feels the most poorly run, and that says a lot considering there are a lot of organizations that very clearly come to mind when you think of poorly run.
I mean, they employ Killian Hayes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. When I was looking through like all the players who had played minutes for them this season, and I saw 2 games from Killian Hayes, I knew it was going to be like this team. That was the entire basis of adding them down, and then wanting to talk about them. When I saw that, it was like why at any point is Killian Hayes on your roster? And that should say a lot to NBA fans if you're looking at this and saying, oh, like, what's wrong with the Kings? They have the second worst offense in the entire league, only behind the Nets, which they're doing that on purpose. So I don't know, like, if
Yeah, I think that's part of the question. What is the purpose of the Kings this year? Well, what was their goal?
this is the thing that I want to ask you is that clearly they're going to be, like they need a new direction in there, and I'm once again tasking you with the goal of stepping in as a GM. Which
Okay.
real quick, would you rather be the Browns GM or the Kings GM?
Kings.
Yeah, fair enough. That we can say Kings fucking suck, but the Browns organization is.
Yeah, but they don't employ
you got a
Deshaun
lot of
Watson.
off-the-court issues to handle.
They don't employ Deshaun Watson, so or have to give that contract.
You get to Sacramento and you're like, oh, like it's just on the court that kind of sucks. We still got like the beam culture, well, not anymore, but it's not.
Well, no, it's there. The Kings organization has
They don't
buried
win
it.
games to light the beam, like there's
Yeah.
all this to say. What would be your move if you're the Kings GM?
Well, first, I would go full youth movement. Like going into this offseason, I would go full youth movement and just be like, look, like we have to fully accept we are in a rebuild. I don't know why we brought in DeMar and Levine. Like, I mean, Russ has been cool, but they do have some players where you're like, okay, there's a little bit of something there where it's like we can develop some of these guys going forward, see what we got. But we, at the very, like, we need to gather assets so that we can actually build this team. Because, Malik Monk, I'm still a fan of, although he's been a little injury prone and a little wishy-washy, but like there's still something there, I think. Nick Clifford has been like, I like him. Like that's a good young player to have going forward. And then Sabonis, I think they should have gotten rid of Sabonis this year. I would like to see them do that sometime soon, like while you still can trade him for good assets. But like you have some young players like that. You got DeAndre Hunter, who like, yes, he got shipped out of Cleveland, but like I do still think he is a good basketball player that you can use going forward. Keegan Murray should be like they already paid him. Like he's got his own chant in the arena, so you're gonna be with him going forward, and I think that's fine. Like that's good. But then yeah, after that you're just like, all right, like who else do we actually have? And March is usually the season, like the time of the year where I am like, okay, let me watch some of these like bottom feeder teams, like one last look at them before the playoff starts. so I can like get a good idea of like, all right, who are some of these players that they have going forward. I didn't. A lot of the players I just mentioned, they had to trade for it. Like outside of Nick Clifford and Keegan Murray, I'm like, oh, who else are we actually confident in this team to build with? So that's like my main thing with team was like, if I'm the GM, I'm like, okay, like I love you, DeMar DeRozan. You're one of my favorite players to watch. You got to go. Levine, I don't know what you are. You're just supposed to be a bucket getter, but you're inconsistent. So we gotta get rid of you. Probably have to get rid of Malik Monk. You gotta get rid of. Let me just bottom line. You gotta get rid of everybody that's under 26 years old, and you gotta have a youth movement going forward
For
where
26
maybe
years.
you keep Russ next year to help build this team up. But that's what else do you do?
Yeah, I I agree with you. And that's the best place to start. But my thing is right. Like you have you have a player like Zach LaVine who has one of the worst contracts in the league. Like it's going to be difficult to get out.
48 mil nearly.
It's going to be really difficult to get out of some of these situations that you've put yourself into, especially with both like a Levine and Sabonis coming off of season-ending injuries. Like how do you? It's difficult enough to try to look at that Zach LaVine contract and try to justify it for anybody, but then it's another thing to look at it and say, oh, he's coming off of a season-ending injury, and he played for the Kings the previous season. But I do agree. Like I think in my mind when I'm looking at this roster, I'd maybe, and this is like if I was being generous, I'd look at this and say there are four players that I'd want to keep moving forward, and it's Keegan Murray and Nick Lawford, of course, like as your young players that you could hopefully develop. I'd say potentially just keeping DeMar DeRozan around for another year because I think it's going to be difficult to ship DeRozan, Sabonis, and LaVine all out at the same time. And then Russ, just because one, I love Russ, and two, I think the effort that he's still able to bring, especially at 37 years old, is crazy. Like he is everywhere on the court still, and that's what you would expect from Russell Westbrook. So those are the four that I'd look at and say, like, if you're completely blowing this thing up, I think at least keeping those four, and then maybe DeAndre Hunter giving him another opportunity. Like I would say that's where I would start.
Yeah, but then yeah, trade who you can, get what assets you can, and then just have this youth movement going forward. Like you got rid of Fox. I think the moment they got rid of Fox, like we knew what this was going to be. Like and it's just, but that's what makes the trades for like Levine, and it's just like why, like why did we need to do this? Like why do we need this many guys who just there's no cohesion here? Like whoever put this roster together was just like putting names on paper more than actual like
Throwing darts at a board.
yeah, rather than actually putting something together that makes sense. It's like they just put a bunch of ingredients in, threw it in the oven. They're like, I don't know, we'll see if anything edible comes out. But so far, it's all tasted like crap. So I don't know. The Kings, yeah, great first part of the segment. Yeah, the Kings suck. We knew they were gonna suck. I don't know if we knew they were gonna suck this much, but this is basically just like you met expectations in like the saddest way.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Okay, for my next thing, I don't know if you saw, like, I think this was like 2 weeks ago by now, the Clippers-Lakers game. Clippers lose. Lakers, of course, shoot a million free throws as they do. Luka is doing Luka things, like especially the foul baiting was in this game called out to be really, really bad. And this seems like a yearly thing with a team that plays the Lakers. Like, remember when the Raptors coach Darko?
Yeah, Darko Milicic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like they played the Lakers, and he went on that rant about how like he's like, hey, Scotty Barnes, the future face of the league, and he was like so upset because the Lakers got so many free throw attempts, and Scotty Barnes was getting like zero calls.
Yeah.
I feel like we get a rant like that every year, but by some team. It's like you could just like pick one random team every year that's gonna be like the Lakers get too many calls. Do you think this is true? Like, do you think there's something to that? And like, because I mean, I don't like. I kind of get it. Like Luca, LeBron, like they do get a lot of calls.
I definitely, it was not Milicic, it was Radjakovic.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the worst. Thinking of the worst draft pick of all time.
But I mean, if you look at free throw attempts for teams, the Lakers are number one,
I think
and they seemingly are every year.
I think LA as a whole, and especially the Lakers, are a team that naturally has a lot of spotlight on them. Like every year when they release the national TV games, there's always the conversations about the Lakers because no matter how bad they are, they're going to have national television games because they're the Lakers. They have LeBron. They have yeah, LeBron, Luca. Even before that, just everybody that they've had, they're going to be in the spotlight. As and especially their history, one of the premier teams in the NBA. And I think when you get into these national television games, there tends to be a lot of opportunities for them to stay in these games with free throws. But it also at the same time, it's also a style of players that you have in a Luka Doncic. Like it's a combination of yes, the Lakers are getting these calls, but you also have players who are great at getting these calls. So like it's a for the Lakers side of this and for their sake of winning games, it ends up working out. But as a fan, you're watching this and you're trying to enjoy this. It's different.
Yeah, it's funny. Like every year, since especially since LeBron's been there, they do lead the league in free throw attempts. And it's entertaining every year. You're just kind of like, all right, what team is going to crash out over it this year? It's like you can kind of like pick a few coaches where you're like, okay, I can see JB Bickerstaff like yelling about this. Like we've seen Darko do it before. It's like, all right, who's next? Like and it was Ty Lue this time. Ty Lue was not happy, man. He was just not happy in general. But hey, I did have one more thing with the Lakers though, which I didn't mean to make this like new segment all about like the Lakers, but um, the only reason I bring it up is like Pat Riley was given a statue by the Lakers, um, and then it kind of came up where he mentioned, I guess, that he thinks coaches should go back to wearing suits on the court side. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, this is something I've thought about for a while, and I think it depends. Which of course, like I hate when people say it depends, and I'm saying it now. But I overall in general, I'll say that like I agree, and I think it is true. I think the NBA, especially once the bubble hit, I think there became a big focus on wear what's comfortable, and less about like actually dressing up to these games and wearing old school fashion. And it was probably a couple years ago where it was like, oh, like the NBA used to be an establishment, and it was just like '80s coaches with the best like fits on the sideline. And I think you do miss a little bit of that when you look at today's NBA, you look at today's coaches. At the same time, though, it is one of those things where it doesn't really matter. Like the coaches are like it's difficult to sit here and justify us as grown men telling other grown men who get paid a lot more than us to dress up more on the sidelines and to wear fancier clothes. But at the end of the day, I do think like it would be cool to see a bit more effort from the coaches when it came to dressing for games.
Yeah, like the standard look has basically just become like your team's sweatsuit with
Yes.
pandas on.
If
Like
you
that's
got a quarter zip and khakis on, like that is it's the most effective fit.
Yeah, that's just basically all it is. But I thought it was an interesting point because I mean, of course, he had a flex that like he was like, "Oh, well, I met Armani in the late '70s, and he started making suits for me personally." And now that looks come back, I was able to repurpose my suits. It's like, all right, Pat Riley, like you got your statue, like
Yeah.
you flex one thing at a time here, bro. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's always because this isn't the first time it's come up. Like you said, it came up a couple years ago, and I think it comes up like at least once a year where everyone's like, "Remember when coaches used to dress up and look good?" And then now it's like you see like JJ Redick courtside, and he's just wearing like something you would see a guy go golfing in or something. You're just like,
Yeah.
okay, but
I will
yeah,
say that like it's. I think ironically, outside of the NBA, I think there's like especially college. I think we see a lot of college coaches tend to like actually dress up for games. Like and
oh yeah,
especially when it comes to the women's side, Dawn Staley's always got some shit on. Kim Mulkey, the LSU women's basketball coach, always has great fits on.
well, so
I,
I'm glad you bring that up because I think that's where my thought process went with this. Where I was like, I don't know if they need to go back to wearing just suits, but like, can we at least like let the coaches like put some drip on? Like, I don't know how to like say it. Like it doesn't like and because I think the NBA's like new policy is like whatever the head coaches wear is what all the you have to match with your all the coaches. But like it would be cool to see like a Don Staley wearing something like that. Like on it's like it's just like a cool ass because that is like I know it doesn't have to do what happens on the court, but the NBA is I think of all sports in the world, and this I may get some flack for this, but like it is the one that's most about like the culture of the game and the impact that it has on everything around it, right? You think about the fashion, the music aspect of it, like guys like Allen Iverson, Kobe, like the impact that they have on just the culture in general outside of basketball. I think the fashion aspect used to be a part of that. Like you used to look at guys like Pat Riley and be like, "Oh shit, like this is like a part of the basketball fabric." Like think about those like iconic pictures of coaches in the past, like Phil or whoever else you want to think about, like wearing those suits and just being in those still shots. Like it doesn't have to go exactly back to that, but it would be cool to see that part of the culture of the NBA come back to it. In a way, it doesn't have to go full that way, but just like in a way, like a more modernized version of it.
Exactly. And like I even on a Temple level, like I know every time Temple plays at the I can't call it the Wells Fargo Center anymore. Xfinity Mobile Arena. Every time they play Xfinity Mobile Arena, or even like a Big Five game, like there's they always tend to wear suits for those games since they're bigger occasions. And I think like it's cool to see that. Or like if there's like a special cause or something, wearing the color for it. And I think like there's a lot of stuff like culture wise that I don't think the NBA like first big on culture and like establishing culture that they are supposed to be focusing on. It's one of the aspects where they don't.
Yeah. All right. Did you have another one?
Do you have another one? Because I have a fun one to close out, and I want to save it for last.
Okay, then I'll go because I have one more, and it's just kind of like a general question, like legacy almost kind of question. But I'm genuinely curious what you think about this. Do you think this is James Harden's best chance he'll get at winning a championship?
I I think so. I think when you think about the Eastern Conference and how things have shaken out, with like yes, you do have Jalen Brown playing at an MVP level for the Celtics. You have the Pistons who are playing way above I think their expectations where we would have thought they would have been as an organization at this point in their rebuild. I still think that the Cavs they have Donovan Mitchell, they have great defensive options and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I think James Harden brings a lot to this team where he fully maximizes their potential. And I think this is the best opportunity for all of them, not just a James Harden, but potentially a Donovan Mitchell. And I know it's difficult to say that because like he could play another like 10 years in the league. I don't know entirely, but I still think the Cavs as an organization have put themselves in a really good position from the hell even the coaching staff down to the bench to being a complete team that can compete for a championship.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when I was watching some of these Cavs games recently. I'm like, this really might be the best situation he's been in, at least since Houston, I would
Yeah.
say.
I was like
But
the OKC years are kind of cheating just because they were literally in the finals, but
yeah, but like I mean like in his career, and like I not that I consider his career starting with Houston, but like the James Harden solo like career experience, like starting in Houston and then going from there. Like I truly think this is his best chance that he may get, and then maybe like he's with Cleveland next year, then maybe he like they have another chance then. But like team wise and just situation wise, like this feels like one of those years where it's like okay, like this is could be James Harden's best pass that he'll ever get towards a ring.
yeah.
Uh, but I don't know, man. Like he's not getting younger, so we'll see. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you that real quick. But all right, what's the fun one you got for me?
All right, so it came out earlier that the Hawks are planning a Magic City tribute night, um, which
All right,
for those of you who don't know,
does Lou Will come out at halftime? Like what does that entail? Do Lou Will and James Harden come out with like a plate of the lemon pepper Lou wings, and like everyone gets a free like six piece or something? Like how does this work?
so for those of y'all who don't know, Magic City is a famous strip club in Atlanta, which is primarily, ironically, not known for being a strip club, but known for being a wing spot that
Apparently, the food there is really good.
okay. And I saw this and I sent it to my family earlier, like my aunt and my cousin, and I was like, look, like I have no intentions on wanting to go to a strip club. With that being said, I need to go to this place at least once in my life because I constantly hear about how good these wings are, and especially the lemon pepper wings. So on March 16th, Atlanta will play the Orlando Magic. Um,
Ti is performing at halftime.
yep, beat me to it.
Sorry,
Um,
I just that just that, like stunned me. I was like,
So
what?
this is directly from ESPN and what they said to celebrate the iconic cultural institution in quotations.
Hell
the,
yeah!
the Hawks are planning a night filled with food, including the club's famous lemon pepper wings, along with music and exclusive merchandise.
They have their own magazine.
The Hawks owner, or principal owner, made this statement about it. This collaboration theme night is very meaningful to me after all the work that we did to put together Magic City and American Fantasy. He's a filmmaker. The iconic Atlanta institution has made such an incredible impact on our city and its unique culture. And this is also tied because apparently they're doing a 5-part docu-series on the club's history and how it's tied to hip hop and black culture. Um,
I just went to their website. I think I'm seeing a preview for this trailer, which I see Ti in it. I
yep.
see Shaq. I think is in this. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw. Yeah, there's Shaq.
Magic City will be serving 2 versions of the lemon pepper wings, including the
Ooh,
ones named for former Hawks guard Lou Williams.
where is when is this?
March 16th.
Yeah, I can't do it. Um, I'm looking at their menu right now. Their wings. You know what?
I like how you specified wings for their menu. That
Well,
was
because that's the first thing that pops up in big ass bold letters. It says the reason you are here, and then wings. Like that's they're not the reason you are here. Wings being on a strip club menu is kind of crazy to me. But it's like, is that really the reason you're there? But apparently, like you said, like yeah, you had the Lou Will lemon pepper barbecue, Uncle Jeff honey jerk, Juju rude boy jerk, and Justice Magic. Magic, by the way, is the nickname of the owner. Um, brother, this menu is amazing. They have salmon bites, shrimp wraps. I'm just lost in this. But dude, if I lived in Atlanta, I would 100% go to this. Like this Magic City night. Are
all,
you kidding me?
all,
It's
all I,
sick.
all I want to say is that I think it's very easy to make fun of marketing teams and say, oh, you're not doing enough. They're very easy layups. They're very easy opportunities that you could do within the city. Take notes from the Atlanta marketing team because I think this genuinely has to be one of the best collabs or theme nights that I've heard. Like there's always the basic like, oh, you're honoring like the Sixers honored the 2001 finals team.
Right.
And they're like, that's cool and all. Do something. Yes, that I don't want to say like that's not culturally significant. And they brought back hip hop this year. The Sixers like there's a lot of culturally significant things the Sixers have done. With that being said, I think when I only know Magic City because of these wings and every person visiting Atlanta talking about how good these wings are and needing to get lemon pepper ones. And I think about this and say like this is pure marketing gold. Like I don't think we're ever gonna see a better marketing collab than this.
We just got done talking about how like the culture of the NBA and how impactful it is, and like coaches wearing suits and having that established part of the culture of the NBA. And then we're like, by the way, also this strip club in Atlanta is like a very important fabric of the NBA, like legitimately important fabric in the culture and history of the NBA. And I'm looking through their merch store right here. They got pictures of my king Future wearing one of their hoodies. They got that's 2 Chainz, one of my other favorite rappers, brother. God, this is amazing. This is so okay. Well, I can't. T- okay, dude. I love this world. What a fantastic league, by the way. Do you think the NFL would ever allow something like this?
Absolutely not.
Like, do
I
you think the Houston Texans and I forget the name of the strip club, the lesser strip club they have there compared to Magic City, obviously, but like the
I'm
strip
not
club that
tapped into my strip club knowledge. That's
well,
enough.
it was like the one that Harden would always go to, the one that like Drake
Oh,
talks about in his music at times, but
yeah,
like
I have no clue, but it was funny because the memes I was seeing right after the first one I saw was like all of a sudden James Harden is signing a 10-day contract with Orlando, like to go play in Atlanta on March 16th, and I was like, hey, like
I'm being
it's
100% serious. If James Harden isn't playing that day, if he's still like resting his fractured thumb, maybe this is why he's got a fractured thumb.
Fractured thumb.
Yeah. Maybe because he's a special guest being honored.
Let's see where the
And you
cap.
know there's gonna be an amazing after party too. Do you think they're giving out like discounted, like, oh, like show us you were at the game and we'll give you like a discount for like
I'm a bit curious about what the merch will look like.
I like how we're breaking this down logistically. Like our minds immediately went to like this is sick. What are the logistics behind the Magic City night at the Atlanta Hawks game?
So James Harden won't be playing on March 16th, but he'll play Dallas the 15th in Cleveland, and then he'll have to go to Milwaukee the 17th. So I think it might be out of the question unless he wants to. Well, he's got NBA money, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants, but taking back to back flights all around.
They have a $250 motorcycle jacket, two of them. Good God.
I am like I genuinely am curious about like what the merch aspect of this looks like. Like what is like how do you
Oh, a Magic City night T-shirt with the Atlanta Hawks. Dude, I would go if they were giving out merch just for that. Like that could be a legendary T-shirt if they were giving that out.
it is
Do you think the Magic City employees are going to be there shooting T-shirts at people, like, or
what employees are you
participating?
referring to?
Dude, from management down to like the strippers, the barbacks, the bus boys, like, do you think they all get to go there and participate in Magic City night? Like, you gotta, right? It's Magic City night. You gotta have the girls out there.
They have to.
Dude, there's so many curiosities I have about this because I'm like, first of all, it's just amazing. Like, what a beautiful league that we get to watch where they get to have a night like this. No other league is doing it like the NBA. This is hilarious. And it's so great. Oh,
See, look,
dude, the celebrity row this game,
there was no better way to close the show out than this.
you're going to see potentially Atlanta's finest at this game. And I'm not talking about just the employees. I'm talking about like the rappers, like the Atlanta celebrities. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw virtually every Atlanta rapper like courtside for this. And hopefully some like retired NBA players. Shannon Sharp might be out there. He's talked about it in the past.
Be there. Unc don't miss a moment.
Unc ain't gonna miss this. I mean, because they talked about like some of these guys, like Lou Will, legit had like their own. All right, we're getting too much into this, but like Lou Will had like some of his own sections in this club. Like, dude, I don't even know what the original question was. I think you were just telling me this was happening. I'm like,
it was less about a question and more just presenting that the like as much as there's a lot wrong with the NBA. All-Star Weekend's broken. They're trying to figure out how to stop tanking. With that being said, the creativity that they've shown towards marketing is at a different level.
do you think they put my final question about this? Because I've had a lot. Do you think they put more effort into the Trey Young tribute or into this?
Oh, easily this. I understand, right? Like Trey Young has been a lot for your organization. He was able to kill the Knicks in the Garden. With that being said, Magic City is a staple. Where it's like I've lived in the Philly area my entire life, and I've only heard about this place as having the best wings, and like not even for it being what it actually is.
During the bubble, Lou Williams left the bubble. He broke quarantine to go to this strip club and risked him being able to play in meaningful basketball games.
For some food.
Hey, so can we say that Magic City is more impactful for the organization of the Atlanta Hawks than Trey Young ever was?
Yeah, it feels disrespectful to even compare the two.
You're right. That's on me, Magic City. That's my fault. If you want to send me wings, like I apologize. If you want to sponsor our podcast, hey, we'll do a live show. We won't show anything. We'll just do a live show in one of your closeout sections with the plate of wings in front of us.
You know,
I gotta try these wings. I gotta try them. I've thought about these wings for years and how famous they are. Like, I gotta try them at some point in my life.
Hey, 10-piece wings for $20.
That's $2 wing. Hey, listen. Hey, all right. We've lingered on this too long, but fun way to end our podcast today. Sorry, Mom. I promise this is purely basketball reasons. Like this, I hope people actually do understand. Like, we're not kidding when we say like Magic City is a staple in the NBA community, and actually like is a big part of the culture of not just the NBA but like the rap community. So
They're
like
not making a documentary because it's a strip club. They're making a documentary because it is one of the essential places of not just food, but and I'm not saying it sarcastically, a fine establishment of like culture that like even if you're not from the area, you know about. So
I mean GQ called it America's most important club. So there you go. If GQ said it. All right. Well, we'll talk to you all again next week. Thank you for listening. We'll give you all the updates on the NBA as well as Magic City as we go forward. We're looking forward to that night. When this night happens, I will be watching that game on NBA League Pass. Um, that's gonna be funny as hell if you watch that on NBA, like the full game on NBA League Pass, and they show because like they'll show the halftime
yeah,
shows. So
yeah,
during
I
halftime,
remember.
like how are they gonna? There's so many logistical questions I have about this. I have to watch the full game. So we'll keep you all updated. But thank you all for listening and watching. Really appreciate everyone who's reached out and said that they enjoy the show. Please make sure you're subscribing. Tell your friends, tell your family, whoever it is. We would love to gain more followers and subscribers. We would love to have more fan interaction eventually going forward, where we can answer comments or questions, whatever is going on. But really appreciate everybody who does watch and listen. And I've been Tyler Blankship. That's Jason Nieves. We'll be back with y'all next week.